Every buck down in Bellflower liked winter break a lot, but the Crinch, who lived just north of Bellflower, did not. The Crinch hated 2020, especially the winter season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. The Crinch was a virus whose name we know well. COVID-19 made 2020 far less than swell. Because of the Crinch, 2020 grads missed senior week, and our beloved 2021 might have to repeat. Our incoming 7th graders haven't set foot on campus, but their hearts still stood here and never acted like a grampus. Yes, the COVID Crinch, who we call Crinch, was the meanest one of all. He moseyed his way in, and we hoped he'd be gone by the fall. So why does the Crinch hate 2020 and the winter season? Why was he so nasty? What was the reason? I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his school spirit wasn't present at all. Whatever the reason, the sickness and more, all he brought to 2020 was sadness galore. He stood there hating the 2020 year, staring down from his cave with a nasty, crinchy sneer. The Crinch could see warm lighted windows below in their town, but wanted so badly to see them all frown. For he knew every buck down in Bellflower beneath was busy now hanging their holiday wreath. And they are hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow's winter break, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch germs nervously spreading. I must find some way to stop winter break from heading. The bucks 7th through 12th would sit down to a feast. They would feast on a buck pudding and a rare buck roast beast. This was something the Crinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every buck down in Bellflower, the tall and the small, held a Google Meet for one and for all. Although they couldn't be together with Christmas bells ringing, they'd virtually meet and the bucks would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing and they'd sing. Sing, sing, sing. The more the Crinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why? For one whole year I put up with it now. I must stop this winter break from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Crinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Crinch laughed in his throat. No one will stop me, I'll happily gloat. I'll be a virus that spreads to each person. Every single day the symptoms will worsen. Toward the homes where the bucks lay a snooze in their town, he still did not see quite enough frowns. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the bucks were all dreaming, sweet dreams without care, when he came to the first little buck's house on the square. This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Crinch hissed, and he climbed in the house with germs in his fist. Then he spread it around rather sickeningly to each inch. But if 2020 could do it, then so could the Crinch. He saw the little buck stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most his spirit around the whole room, and he took all their spirit. Then he stuffed their whole tree up with the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Crinch, I will head out, I'll flee. Then he turned around fast and he saw a small buck. He didn't want to be caught, he thought. Oh, just my luck. The Crinch hadn't been caught by this tiny buck who was confused by his visit and asked,
Who are you?
The buck stared at the Crinch and started repeating,
You're the.
I'm the Crinch, he yelled as she started retreating. The Crinch had taken so much, and through all her fears, she grabbed her little mask and yelled,
The Crinch! The Crinch is here!
But you know, that old Crinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. There's a problem with this here, he said with a sneer, so I'm taking it back to my workshop, you small buccaneer. He went through the door and took 2020 out. He almost got a hold of 2021, but luckily missed, no doubt. He had the perfect plan, he thought, for ruining the year. But as he snuck out of the house, he heard voices come near. But this sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded glad. Some bucks down in Bellflower, the tall and the small, they were still singing without spreading COVID to other families at all. He hadn't stopped winter break from coming. It came, somehow or other. It came just the same. And the Crinch with his germs and feet that were green, he stood puzzling and puzzling, he was so mean. Winter break came with some rest, bucks are finished with work and finished with tests. He puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. Then the Crinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe 2020, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe 2020 perhaps means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Bellflower they say that the Crinch's school spirit grew 3 sizes that day. The true meaning was being together through thick and thin, and the Crinch realized he couldn't take the win. And now the Crinch's heart didn't feel so tight. He vanished away into the dead of the night. With smiles to their souls, the Bucks truly felt blessed, cheerily shouting, because unity creates success. They socially distanced and kept their hands clean. They wore their face masks to fight COVID-19. No matter the distance or time spent at home, they stayed connected through Google Chrome. Don't think of what we lost, think instead of what we gained. We have to be grateful for what we have attained. Winter break is so special, they prepared for a feast. Mr. Lundgren himself went and carved the roast beast. We hope you enjoy your 2-week winter break. Find ways to show love and give more than you take. Cheers to all Bucks from far and near. We'll be together soon. We'll see you next year. The end.